All right, let's talk about something I see trip people up all the time, especially during audits. If you're in the world of pressure vessels or piping, you absolutely have to know the difference between a WPS and a PQR. Mixing these two up, that's a huge, and I mean huge, costly mistake. It's probably the #1 reason for failed audits.
So, are they the same thing? The short answer is no way, not even close. And in this quick explainer, we're going to break it all down for you. We'll make the difference super clear, and we'll even touch on some of the newer code expectations you've got to be aware of to keep everything compliant. And look, I can't stress this enough. This confusion, it's a direct path to a failed audit. It's one of the biggest red flags for any inspector. Getting this right isn't just about passing an audit, it's fundamental to your entire safety and compliance program. Okay, so the easiest way to get your head around this is to think about it in two simple words: instruction versus proof. Here it is, plain and simple. Think of your WPS, the welding procedure specification, as the recipe. It's the step-by-step guide for the welder. It tells them exactly how to make the weld. But the PQR, well, that's your proof. The procedure qualification record is the hard evidence from the lab. It's the test results that prove your recipe actually makes a mechanically sound weld. And you've got to remember this, because it's an ironclad rule. You can have the most beautiful, detailed WPS in the world, but if there isn't a valid PQR to back it up, it's just a piece of paper. It's not qualified. Period. Your instructions mean absolutely nothing without the proof. So let's switch hats for a second. To get through an audit, you need to start thinking like an inspector. And what do we inspectors care about most? It's not just paperwork, it's evidence. Cold, hard evidence. So, what kind of evidence are we talking about here? What's the inspector actually going to ask for when they show up and want to see your welding docs? Okay, here's the thought process. An inspector is looking for traceability. They're going to check that you have a PQR, a real qualified record that covers all the essential stuff for the job you're doing. We're talking materials, thickness, position, the whole shebang. But here's the most important part. They're going to check that your WPS was built directly from that PQR. So let's say your welder's working on an 18mm pipe in the 6G position. The first thing I'm going to ask is, okay, show me the PQR that qualifies you to do that. It's that direct. Now, this leads to something really important. You have to have what I call the latest update mindset, because in our world, compliance is never a one-and-done thing. Codes change, standards evolve, and you have to keep up. First things first, always verify the code edition you're working to. You know, something like the ASME code gets revised all the time, and those updates, they can change qualification rules, they can change the ranges, and if you're using an old edition, boom, your work could be invalid right out of the gate. And it's the same deal for international standards. Take ISO 1564-1, for instance. It's constantly being updated. You know changes are coming down the pipeline, so you have to be proactive. Get your documentation in line now so you're not scrambling later. And if you're working with equipment under, say, the EU's Pressure Equipment Directive, the stakes get even higher. We're not just talking about internal QA anymore. Your procedure qualification record, that becomes official legal evidence for the regulators. Traceability, proof, it's absolutely non-negotiable. Okay, so how do you put all this into practice and make sure you don't miss anything? I've got a simple, no-fail checklist for you. Just run through this before any welding starts on a pressure boundary. All right, here we go. First, double check. Is the correct code edition referenced? Number 2, does your WPS link directly back to a valid PQR or WPQR? Really check it. 3, are all the variables and ranges, the thickness, the position, everything actually valid for this specific job? 4, what about the welder? Is their WPQ current, and does it match the WPS they're using? 5, have you clearly defined your NDT methods and the acceptance criteria? And finally, number 6, is everything documented, traceable, and ready for an audit at a moment's notice? So, let's bring it all home. It really is this simple. The WPS is your set of instructions. It's the how-to guide. The PQR is the hard evidence that proves your instructions actually work. And remember, the safety of every single piece of pressure equipment you build relies on that unbreakable link between the two. If you found this helpful and want more practical tips on pressure equipment inspection and compliance, make sure you subscribe, because getting these details right, well, that's what makes the difference in your next audit.